Emma pressed her face against the cold kitchen window and watched the endless white fields. Snow covered everything like a thick blanket. The old farmhouse made scary noises in the wind. Every window had ice on it that looked like strange flowers. 3 days ago, Emma had driven her small car from London to Yorkshire. She only brought one suitcase and a heart that felt broken into a million pieces. This was her grandmother's dairy farm now. It was the only thing she had left in the whole world. Everything bad had happened to Emma at the same time. The bank where she worked for 5 years fired her because they did not need her anymore. Then her fiancé Tom told her he was in love with her best friend Lucy. They were getting married and moving to Spain together. Emma felt like someone had punched her in the stomach and stolen all her air. Maybe I should just give up. Emma said out loud to the empty kitchen. Her voice sounded tiny in the big old house. The farm was dying. Only 12 cows were left, and they looked skinny and sad. On the kitchen table, there were piles of bills that needed to be paid. Emma did not have enough money for all of them. The farmhouse felt like icebox. Emma could see her breath when she talked. The old heating system was broken and would cost too much money to fix. She wrapped her grandmother's old coat around herself, but she still felt cold deep inside her. "Bones, I should just sell this place," Emma whispered while looking at the bills again. "Take whatever money I can get and start over somewhere far away from here." But something strange happened when Emma walked to the old red barn. She expected to find sick animals and dirty floors. Instead, she saw fresh yellow hay scattered round for the cows to eat. Someone had filled the water containers with clean water. The barn floor was swept clean. Emma felt confused. Who had been taking care of the animals? She lived alone now. The nearest neighbor was Mrs. Wilson, but she was 80 years old and could not do heavy farm work. The 12 cows looked at Emma with their big brown eyes. One cow, a gentle black and white one, came close to Emma and let her pet its soft nose. For the first time in months, Emma felt a tiny bit of warmth in her heart. "Who has been helping you?" Emma asked the cow softly. The cow just looked at her with kind eyes, as if it understood her sadness. That evening, the weather got much worse. Snow fell so hard that Emma could not see past the front porch. The wind howled like a wild animal round the house. Emma made herself a cup of tea and sat by the window, feeling more alone than ever before. Then she heard a loud crash outside. It sounded like metal hitting metal. Emma put on her boots and coat and went outside into the freezing storm. The snow hit her face like tiny needles. Near the farm gate, she found a blue truck stuck deep in a ditch. The truck's lights were still on, making yellow circles in the white snow. A man was lying next to the truck, not moving much. He was wearing work clothes and no hat. Snow was already covering his dark hair. Emma ran to him as fast as she could. In the deep snow, the man was breathing, but his skin looked blue from the cold. He was shaking so hard his teeth were making clicking sounds. "Please," the stranger said in a very quiet voice. His eyes were closed, and he seemed barely awake. "Just need somewhere warm." Emma looked down at this man who needed help so badly. She thought about how she needed help too. Maybe they were both lost people in the storm of life. Her grandmother always said that helping others was the best way to help yourself. Emma made a choice that felt scary and right at the same time. She could not leave this man outside to freeze to death. "Come inside," she said softly, helping him. "Sit up. You are safe now." The man was heavy, but Emma was strong from working at the bank and lifting boxes. Together, they walked slowly through the snow to the warm farmhouse. Emma's heart was beating fast, but not from fear. For the first time in months, she felt like she was doing something that mattered. Inside the house, Emma helped the stranger sit by the old fireplace. She made the fire bigger and brought him hot tea and warm blankets. The man's shaking slowly stopped, and color came back to his face as Emma watched this stranger get warm and safe in her grandmother's house. She felt something change inside her chest. The terrible coldness that had been living there since Tom left began to melt just a little bit. Maybe helping someone else was the first step to helping herself outside. The storm continued to blow, but inside the old farmhouse, two lost souls had found shelter together. The next morning, Emma woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon cooking. She put on her robe and walked downstairs to find the stranger making breakfast in her kitchen. He had found eggs from somewhere and was cooking them in her grandmother's old pan. "Good morning," he said with a warm smile. "I hope you do not mind. I found some food in your refrigerator and thought you might be hungry." Emma felt embarrassed. She had been living on tea and toast for days because she felt too sad to cook real food. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I do not even know your name." "I am James," he said, putting a plate of hot food in front of her. "James Miller. And you must be Emma. Your grandmother talked about you all the time when I knew her." Emma looked surprised. "You knew my grandmother?" James nodded and sat down with his own plate. "I owned a small farm about 10 miles from here. Your grandmother Rose was always very kind to me. When my crops failed 3 years ago, she brought me food and never asked for anything back." Emma felt her eyes fill with tears. That sounded exactly like something her grandmother would do. Rose had always helped anyone who needed it. "What happened to your farm?" Emma asked softly. James looked out the window at the snow. His face became sad. "Bad weather killed my crops 2 years in a row. Then my dad got sick and needed expensive medicine. I had to sell everything to pay the hospital bills after he died. I had nothing left." Emma felt a pain in her chest that she knew very well. James had lost everything too, just like she had. "I am so sorry," she said. "It is okay," James said, but Emma could see the hurt in his eyes. "Now I do odd jobs round the county. I fix things, help with animals, work on farms when people need extra hands." Emma remembered the fresh hay in the barn. "You have been taking care of my animals." James looked a little embarrassed. "Your neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, asked me to check on them while you were away. She was worried about them. I could not let them go hungry or thirsty." Emma felt ashamed of herself. She had been so busy feeling sorry for herself that she had forgotten about the 12 cows who depended on her. They needed food and water and care every single day, even when she felt too sad to get out of bed. "I cannot pay you much," Emma said quietly, looking at the bills on the table. "Actually, I cannot pay you anything at all. I barely have enough money for food." James smiled gently and touched her hand. "I am not asking for money, Emma. These animals need care, and I need something to do that matters. Maybe we can help each other." Emma felt confused. "But why would you work for free?" "Because I understand what it feels like to lose everything," James said simply. "And because your grandmother would have wanted someone to help you." That afternoon, James moved his few things into the small room above the barn. It was cold up there, but he said it was better than sleeping in his truck or in shelters in town every morning for the next few weeks. Emma watched James from her kitchen window. He woke up early and walked to the barn in his work boots and old jacket. He talked softly to each cow while he milked them. He gave them fresh hay and made sure their water was not frozen. He fixed broken boards in the barn walls and cleared ice away from everywhere the animals needed to walk. James worked like he truly cared about each animal. Emma saw him pet the cows and talk to them like they were his friends. The black and white cow that Emma liked seemed to love James too. She would come running when she saw him. Emma started making extra tea and coffee every morning. She told herself it was because James worked so hard and deserved something warm to drink. But really, she just wanted to talk to him. He knew so much about animals and farming. When he talked about the cows, his whole face lit up with joy. That cow with the brown spot on her head is going to have a baby soon, James told Emma one morning. Probably in about 2 months. She will need extra food and a warm, clean place to give birth. Emma felt excited and scared at the same time. She had never seen a cow have a baby before. Slowly, day by day, the terrible loneliness that had been eating Emma's heart began to go away. It felt good to have another person in the house. James was quiet and respectful, but he was always there if Emma needed help with anything. One evening, Emma found James in the barn fixing a leather harness with his hands. She brought him hot chocolate and sat on a hay bale to watch him work. "Why are you so kind to me?" Emma asked. "Most people would ask for money or something in return." James looked up from his work and smiled. "Because kindness is free," he said simply. "And we all need it sometimes. Your grandmother taught me that." Emma felt her heart warm up just a little bit more. When March came, the snow began to melt away like ice cream in the sun. Emma walked outside one morning and saw tiny green grass shoots pushing up through the wet ground. The air smelled fresh and clean instead of cold and bitter. For the first time in months, Emma felt like smiling. James had been living in the barn room for 6 weeks now. Every day, he taught Emma something new about farm life. He showed her how to look at a cow's eyes to see if it was healthy or sick. He taught her how to fix a broken fence post with just a hammer and some nails. Most important of all, he showed her how to find happiness in simple work. "See how this cow holds her head up high," James said one morning as they walked through the pasture. "That means she feels good and strong. But if a cow hangs her head down and will not look at you, she might be getting sick." Emma watched the black and white cow she loved. The cow looked right at her with bright, clear eyes and made a soft mooing sound. Emma laughed and petted the cow's warm nose. "I think she likes me," Emma said. "She loves you," James said with a big smile. Animals can tell when someone has a kind heart. As the weather got warmer, Emma and James worked together every day. They repaired the old wooden barn doors. They painted the fence white so it looked clean and new. They planted a small garden behind the farmhouse with vegetables and flowers. The best part was when 3 of the cows had babies. Emma watched in wonder as the tiny calves took their first wobbly steps. They were so cute with their big eyes and soft fur. The baby calves liked to run and play in the green grass while their mothers watched. Carefully, "Your grandmother built something really beautiful here," James said one sunny afternoon. They were sitting on the porch steps, watching the calves play in the pasture. "It would be so sad to let developers buy this land and turn it into houses and shopping centers." Emma had been thinking the same thing for weeks. Her heart no longer felt frozen like ice. Working next to James every day, learning how to take care of animals and land, had woken up something inside her that she thought was gone forever. It was hope. But Emma still had big money problems. The farm needed a new roof on the barn, and that would cost thousands of dollars. The old tractor needed repairs that would cost even more money. Emma's savings account was almost empty. She had enough money for food for maybe 2 more months every night. Emma lay in bed and worried about money. She loved this farm now, and she loved working with James, but she did not know how to make enough money to keep everything going. One morning in early April, Emma went to the barn to help James with the morning chores. She found him sitting on a hay bale, holding a white letter in his hands. His face looked very sad. "What is wrong?" Emma asked. Sitting down next to him, James held up the letter. "I got a job offer in Scotland," he said in a quiet voice. "A big farm up there needs someone to take care of their cattle. They are offering good money and a place to live. Steady work for as long as I want it." Emma felt like someone had just poured cold water all over her heart. "When would you have to go?" she asked, trying not to cry. "Next week," James said. He looked at Emma with sad eyes. "I think you will be fine here now. You know how to take care of the animals. You are stronger than you think." Emma realized something that scared her and made her happy at the same time. Somewhere between the morning chores and the evening conversations, she had fallen in love, not just with James, but with this whole life they had built together. She loved waking up and seeing him walk to the barn. She loved eating breakfast together and talking about the animals. She loved working side by side in the garden and laughing when one of the calves did something funny. "Please do not go," Emma whispered. "I need you here. The farm needs you. I think I love you." James looked surprised and happy and sad all at the same time. He took Emma's hand in his rough, warm hands. "I love you too," he said softly. "But I cannot stay here and watch you lose everything because of money. You deserve better than a man who cannot even help pay the bills." That night, a terrible storm came to Yorkshire. The wind blew so hard that it shook the old farmhouse. Rain poured down like someone was dumping buckets of water from the sky. Lightning lit up the dark sky like giant camera flashes. Emma was in the kitchen when she heard a loud crack outside. Lightning had hit the big oak tree next to the barn. Part of the tree fell down, and sparks from the broken electrical wires started a small fire on the barn roof. The animals. Emma screamed. Running outside into the rain, James was already running toward the barn. He rushed inside to get the cows out safely, but as he was leading the last cow to safety, a burning wooden beam fell from the ceiling and trapped his leg underneath. Emma had never been so frightened in her whole life. She ran into the burning barn and helped pull James out from under the heavy beam. As she helped him walk to safety, she knew she could not face losing him too. The doctor in the village said James would be fine, but his leg needed time to heal. Emma wrapped his hurt leg with bandages every morning and helped him walk with a wooden stick. But even though his body was getting better, Emma could see that James was still planning to leave for Scotland. "You should take that job," Emma said one morning as she brought him tea in the barn. "Good money is hard to find." James shook his head. "I cannot leave you alone with all this work, but I also cannot stay and watch you run out of money because of me." Emma had been thinking about their problem for days and nights. She had an idea that felt scary and exciting at the same time. "What if we do not just save this farm?" Emma said suddenly. "What if we make it something really special?" James looked confused. "What do you mean?" Emma sat down on a hay bale and started talking fast because she was excited. "I worked at a bank for 5 years. I know about business and money. You know everything about animals and farming. What if we work together to make this place into something new?" "Like what?" James asked. "A guest farm," Emma said, her eyes getting bright. "City families could come here to learn about farm life. Children could pet the animals and collect eggs. Adults could find peace and quiet away from busy city life. People would pay to stay here and learn about real farm work." James thought about this idea. "Do you think people would really want to do that?" "Yes," Emma said. "When I lived in London, All my friends talked about wanting to get away from the city and experience simple country life. But they did not know how or where to go. Emma got paper and a pencil and started drawing plans. We could fix up the old rooms upstairs for guests to sleep in. We could teach people how to milk cows and feed chickens. We could make simple, healthy meals with food from our own garden. The more they talked, the more excited James became. We could have a small shop where people could buy fresh eggs and milk to take home. Maybe we could even make cheese and butter to sell. Emma jumped up and hugged James, being careful of his hurt leg. We can do this together. I know we can. The next day, Emma walked down the road to visit Mrs. Wilson, their 80-year-old neighbor. Mrs. Wilson was working in her flower garden when Emma arrived. "Hello, dear," Mrs. Wilson said with a warm smile. "How is James feeling?" Emma told Mrs. Wilson about their idea for a guest farm. Mrs. Wilson listened carefully and nodded her head. "This valley needs young people with big dreams," Mrs. Wilson said. "Your idea is wonderful." Then she surprised Emma by saying, "I have some money saved up that I do not need. I would like to help you get started." Emma felt tears in her eyes. "Mrs. Wilson, I cannot take your money." "You are not taking it," Mrs. Wilson said firmly. "I am investing it in something good. This community needs hope, and you two are bringing hope." Word about Emma and James's idea spread through the village very quickly. The man who owned the hardware store said he would help them fix up the farmhouse rooms for free. The woman who ran the local bakery offered to teach Emma how to make fresh bread for guests. Even the village children wanted to help by painting fences and planting flowers. Emma wrote a detailed business plan, just like she used to do at the bank. She calculated how much money they would need and how much money they could make. James drew pictures of how they would change different parts of the farm. They took their plan to Mr. Thompson, the manager of the local bank. Emma was nervous because she remembered how it felt to lose her job at a bank in London. But Mr. Thompson read their plan carefully and smiled. "This is exactly what this area needs," he said. "I grew up on a farm, and I know how hard it is to make money from farming alone. Your idea is smart and creative. I can give you a small loan to get started." By summer, everything was ready. Their first guests were a tired mother from Manchester named Sarah and her 2 young children, Lucy and Tom. Sarah looked stressed and unhappy when she arrived. "The children have been playing video games all summer," Sarah told Emma. "They have never seen real farm animals." Emma watched the magic happen. Lucy, who was 7 years old, screamed with delight when a baby calf licked her hand. Tom, who was 5, laughed so hard when the chickens ran round his feet that he fell down in the grass. Sarah sat on the porch with a cup of tea and smiled for the first time in months. "This is exactly what we needed," Sarah told Emma at the end of their 3-day visit. "The children learn so much, and they feel peaceful for the first time all year." But the real test came one morning in August. Emma was hanging laundry outside when an expensive black car drove up to the farmhouse. Her heart stopped when she saw who got out of the car. It was Tom, her old fiancé from London. He looked exactly the same with his perfect suit and shiny shoes. He walked toward Emma with the same confident smile she used to love. "Hello, Emma," Tom said. "You look wonderful. Country life agrees with you." Emma did not know what to say. She had not seen Tom since the day he told her he was marrying her best friend Lucy. "I have amazing news," Tom said. "My company wants to offer you a job in London. Better pay than your old job, and a chance to be successful again. You could have everything you lost. Real success, real money." Emma looked across the field where James was teaching a little girl how to collect eggs from the chicken coop. She saw the happiness in his face and the peace in the green fields they had saved together. "I already have everything I need," Emma said with a strong, sure voice. 1 year later, Emma stood in her warm kitchen making breakfast for 12 guests. She could hardly believe how much had changed. Meadowbrook Farm was now famous all across England. Families drove for hours to come and experience real farm life with their children. Every week, new guests arrived with suitcases and excited faces. Children who had never seen a car up close would leave 3 days later with muddy boots, big smiles, and hearts full of joy. Adults who came feeling tired and stressed from busy city jobs would go home feeling peaceful and happy. Emma loved watching the magic happen. Yesterday, a little boy from Birmingham had been afraid to touch the chickens. By the end of his visit, he was carrying the chickens round like they were his pets. His mother told Emma it was the first time she had seen her son smile since his father died. The old farmhouse was completely different now. Emma and James had painted all the walls bright colors and filled every room with comfortable furniture. The smell of fresh bread and homemade soup filled the air every day. Children's laughter echoed through the halls from morning until night. In April, Emma and James had gotten married in the big field behind the barn. Mrs. Wilson helped Emma pick wildflowers for her wedding bouquet. All the people from the village came to celebrate with them. Even some of their favorite guest families came back just for the wedding. Emma wore her grandmother's simple white dress and felt more beautiful than she ever had in her expensive London clothes. James wore a clean white shirt and looked so handsome that Emma cried happy tears when she saw him waiting for her by the old oak tree. The village priest married them as the sun set behind the green hills. Everyone danced on the grass until 8 at night. It was the most perfect day of Emma's life. Now it was winter again. Exactly 1 year since Emma had first come to the farm feeling broken and alone. She put on her coat and walked outside to the same spot where she had stood that first terrible day. But everything looked completely different now. The farmhouse glowed with warm yellow light from every window. Emma could hear James inside reading a bedtime story to 2 little children whose family was visiting for the week. His gentle voice carried through the cold air, telling them about a brave little pig who saved his farm. The barn was painted bright red now and filled with healthy animals. 15 cows lived there, including 5 babies born during the summer. The chickens had a beautiful new house that James built with his own hands. Everything was clean and warm and full of life. "Your grandmother would be so proud of you," said a familiar voice behind Emma. Emma turned round and saw Mrs. Wilson walking toward her, carrying 2 cups of hot chocolate. Even though Mrs. Wilson was 81 years old, she visited the farm almost every day to help with the guests and animals. "Do you really think so?" Emma asked, taking the warm cup. "I know so," Mrs. Wilson said with certainty. "Rose always said this farm needed to be full of children's laughter again. Look what you and James have created." Emma felt tears of happiness fill her eyes. She had learned so much during this year. The most important thing she learned was that healing does not come from running away from pain. Real healing comes from opening your heart to love and service, even when you feel like you have nothing left to give. When Emma first came to this farm, she wanted to sell it and run away from all her problems. She thought money and success in London would make her happy again. But she discovered that the things that truly matter cannot be bought with money. "I used to think I had lost everything," Emma told Mrs. Wilson. "My job, my fiancé, my old life. But really, I had to lose those things to find what I was meant to do." Mrs. Wilson nodded and smiled. "Sometimes God closes one door so he can open a better door." Emma looked at the farm that was no longer cold and dying. Her heart was no longer cold either, by saving this place and saving each other. Emma and James had learned that the warmest homes are built not with money, but with kindness, hard work, and the courage to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. A car drove up the long driveway, and Emma saw a family getting out with their suitcases, even though it was late. They looked excited to be here. The two children ran toward the barn, wanting to see the animals right away. More guests, Emma said with a happy smile. More chances to share love, Mrs. Wilson said. As soft white snowflakes began to fall from the dark sky, Emma felt completely peaceful. She was finally, truly home, not because of the place, but because of the love and purpose she had found here. James came outside and put his arms round Emma, together. They watched the snow cover their beautiful farm like a soft white blanket. Are you happy? James asked softly. Emma looked at her husband, at the glowing farmhouse, at the peaceful animals, and at the new family who had come to find joy and peace at their farm. I am more than happy. Emma said, I am exactly where I belong. The farm was warm. Her heart was warm, and love had made it all possible.